Om-Jnana-Timirandasya Gyananjana-Shalakaya Chaksurun-Militam Deena Tasmai Sri-Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya-Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa-Kadamayam Dadati Svaparandigam Adadana-Strinandantayritam Yache Puna-Puna Srimad Rupa-Padam Ujodudlisyam Janma-Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhuva evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So today we're here to honor the Holy Disappearance Day of three of the Goswamis. Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, and Srila Krishna's Kviraja Goswami. So we pray at the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas will be able to say something in glorification of these great personalities. So there's not much material about Raghunath Das, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, except he was the son of Tapan Mishra. Mahaprabhu stayed at Tapan Mishra's house on his way to Vrindavan. He stayed there on his way back. And Raghunath Bhatt Goswami got a chance to associate with him. And Mahaprabhu told him, never marry, just serve your parents. When they leave this world, then you come to Puri and join me. So he joined Mahaprabhu in Puri. Then he came here to Vrindavan. And he was noted for his great scholarship. In fact, the Goswamis, they used to relish him reading Srimad Bhagavatam. He would sing each verse in 4 or 5 different melodies. We only know a couple, but he used to sing every verse in 4 or 5 different melodies. And he was very devoted to Srimad Mahaprabhu. And one of his disciples, some people say it was Rajaman Singh himself, others say it was his father, Bhagwan Das Singh. He convinced him to build this Radha Govinda temple, which is still today one of the most beautiful temples in northern India, even though it's part of it has been torn down. And the Goswamis don't worship there. They have a temple behind that they worship, although some pujaris are there worshiping beautiful deity of Govindadev. So even today, this is a very beautiful red sandstone temple. This was by the mercy of Raghunath Bhatt Goswami. And Raghunath Bhatt, he happens to be a member of 2 pairs, 2 different pairs. Sometimes we say bhakti-yoga. So Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta. They were the 2 Bhattas. And we have Raghunath Bhatta and Raghunath Das. So he's part of 2 pairs. So we're deeply indebted to him for this beautiful Radha Govinda temple. Then we have Raghunath Das Goswami. Das Goswami was born, in a very wealthy Zamindar family. But even from a young age, he was detached from all of this wealth. His mother and father became very worried. That he'll run away and renounce everything. And at an early age, he got a chance to meet Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu told him, don't be so restless, stay in your home, pretend to be a pound-stealing man, and your heart always remember me. Very soon you will get my mercy. So he went home, they got him married to a wife more beautiful than Apsara. But still he had no attachment for her. But he pretended to be attached, he pretended to be busy in the family affairs. Because Raghunath's father, Govardhan, he was called like a Vaishnava. He was a Vaishnava, but he was a Vishayi, interested in sense gratification. Most people are, all right, we'll worship Krishna, but let us enjoy our material life. He was like a Vaishnava. One day, Raghunath Das heard that Lord Nityananda Prabhu has come to the bank of the Ganga at Panihati. So he got permission from his father to go there. His father gave him a lot of money. He said, you feed sadhus there. So he paid his obeisances from a distant place. And somebody said, this is Raghunath. Mahaprabhu said, come here. You're a chore. So he came close. You're a chore, and I'm going to give you danda. This is called Dada Dandi festival. You feed everyone with chipped rice and cooked down milk and yogurt, both. So there was thousands of people there. And when everyone got word that there was feast going on, because Raghunath's father sent some servants with him with money, and he sent them to the nearby villages to collect all the items, rice and dahi and milk, and not rice but chipped rice. And even the merchants came they sold the goods, and then they sat down in the feast also. And everyone hearing about this festival, more people came. So many people were there, people had no place to sit. They were standing in the Ganga. Then Lord Nityananda, he sat under, he was with his close associates under a tree. That tree is still there. I've been to Panihati. And he told them to make another plate. So they made a second place, and by meditation, Nityananda brought Lord Chaitanya there. Raghunath Das could see this, and only very fortunate persons could see this. And the feast began, and in a joking mood, Nityananda would put some food in Nityananda's mouth, and Nityananda would take from his plate and put some food in Mahaprabhu's mouth. In this way, they wandered amongst the devotees, giving them morsels of prasad from their own plate. Only those who were very fortunate could see this. And at that time, Lord Nityananda, he placed his lotus feet on Raghunath Dasa's head. He said, now all your obstacles will be gone. So he went home, but his father knew that he was ready to run away at any moment and join Mahaprabhu in Puri. So he had so many guards. One night his family priest, Yadunanandan, said, my pujari hasn't come. It's time for Mangalarti. Go get him and wake him up. So he went with Yadunandan. Everyone saw. They thought he's with Yadunandan, no need to watch. And then he told Yadu, no need for you to come. I will go there. So he sent his spiritual master back. He went to the house of the priest to convince him to come, get up and come. And then he ran to the jungle. And he began going by foot on a journey that ordinarily took 1 month. He took 12 days. He hardly ate or slept. And finally he reached Puri. And everyone sent the guards in every direction, but he didn't take the regular path. He took the different path. And Mahaprabhu received him. He paid obeisance for a distance. Come here, you. He said, you have been saved from a deep, dark well. Your father and his brother, they're stuck in this deep, dark well of materialistic life. But you've been saved from this deep, dark well. Now I put you under the care of Swarup Damodar Gosai. So he went with Swarup Damodar Gosai. Another time, he came with Swarup Damodar to see Mahaprabhu. And he asked me, give me some instruction. He said, I've already placed you under the care of Swarup Damodar, but if you want special instruction, Balo ne khaibe, balo ne paribe, Brahmi katha ne sunibe, or Sada Radha Krishna ka leela smaran kare. You don't eat opulent food. You don't dress opulently. It's like everybody comes every year to go to Loi Bazaar for the latest Vaishnava fashion. Don't dress opulently. Don't speak Brahmikatha. Gossiping. Don't speak or listen. And always remember Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. So he gave this special instruction to Raghunath. So he was very dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world, he could not stand it. He decided, I'm going to go to the top of Govardhan Hill and throw myself down and kill myself. So he went to Vrindavan. Oh, first there's some interesting pastimes in Puri. I almost forgot. Because his father finally found out that he had gone to Puri. He sent some Brahmins with a lot of money. So he was giving feasts for Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas every day. And then one day he thought, this money is coming from Vishai. I'm feeding to Mahaprabhu and all these great Vaishnavas this contaminated food stuff. Better I go to the Singadwara gate and beg prasadam. So then Mahaprabhu saw that there's no feast every day. What happened to Raghunath? And they reported he's at the Singadwara gate begging Jagannath Prasad. And Mahaprabhu said, very nice. After some time, he thought, I'm just like a prostitute. This person gave something yesterday, maybe he'll give something today. This person gave the other day. I'm just loitering like a prostitute. Better to go take the thrown out prasadam. And Mahaprabhu said, I don't see Raghunath at the Singadwara gate anymore. He said, no, he's going to the thrown out prasadam. Very nice. Even that, he thought, he went to that rice that even the cows rejected. He would take that rice, he would clean it off, and he would eat that. When Mahaprabhu heard Raghunath Dasa's new niyam, he immediately ran there to where Raghunath Das was sitting. So you're having a feast and you didn't invite me. And he tried to stop, no, don't take. And Mahaprabhu just took this wonderful prasad. This was Raghunath. Anyway, after he left Puri, he went to Vrindavan. And there, Rupa and Sanatan, they found out that he had a plan to climb the top of Govardhan Hill and throw himself down head first and suicide himself. Especially Sanatana Goswami said, no, by dying you can't get Krishna. If I could get Krishna by dying, I would have died hundreds of times. And I also tried this because Sanatana Goswami was covered with sores, and Mahaprabhu always used to embrace him, and all this stuff would come on his body. So he thought at Rath Yatra, I'll throw myself under the wheel of Lord Jagannath. He didn't tell anyone, but Mahaprabhu was in everyone's heart. He's Sanatan. I have many things to do in this world through this body. This body belongs to me. This body belongs to me. You cannot take it without my permission. So he convinced Raghunath this is not a good idea. So therefore Raghunath came to Radhakund and spent 45 years, especially right on the bank of Shamakund, a Panchapandav Ghat. And his niyam was various. He would chant most of the day, a little bit of time for sleeping, a little bit of time for eating, and eating was just a little dona, leaf cup full of chach. His servant would bring it every day. I think his name was Biharidas. So Biharidas got worried. He's just taking this little donut of buttermilk every day. How will he survive? But he would survive on the mercy of Sriman Mahaprabhu and Sriman Nityananda Prabhu. So one day, Biharidas, he saw the same cup, the leaf that they make the leaf cup out of, but very big leaf. In a place called Sakistali. So he made a leaf cup from that cup, and he brought it before Raghunath, this big leaf cup of chach. And Raghunath began to look at this cup with great curiosity, like a little child. Just like one time in LA, we gave Prabhupada one of those umbrellas. You push the button, boop, it pops out. Then you push it in the ground and it folds up. And Prabhupada, like a little child, boop, boop, and choo, choo, boop, boop, like this. So just like a little child, he was looking at this leaf cup. I said, but Haridas, where you got this leaf cup? Well, I was in Saki's Tali, the place of Chandravali. He threw that leaf cup on the ground. If you ever bring anything from Saki's Tali, I will fast until death. Because Raghunath Das was Ananya Bhakt. Was Srimati Radharani. He's our Prayojanacharya. Ananya Bhakt of Srimati Radharani. Another time, Raghunath Das was in his mind, he was thinking, these kunds are not very nice and fixed up. No gods, nothing, no steps. In the future, people will come from America, from Russia, from Italy, from all over India. We have to make proper arrangement for them. And then he thought, oh, again I'm thinking about money. Again I'm thinking about money. So he became moan, silent for a few days. Meanwhile, one industrialist, he went to Badrinath to give a big donation to Badrinath. And in dream, Badrinath told him, don't give this to me. You go to Vrindavan, you find out Radhakund, you find out Das Goswami, and you give this money to him. He will refuse it. Then you tell him, Lord knows his desire to fix up the kunds. So with great difficulty, there was no Jet Airways, there was no taxi service, Uber wasn't there. Somehow he managed to get to Radhakund. He found out Das Goswami. I said, I have a nice big donation for you. And Das Goswami, wherever you came from, please go back. Not like us, as soon as we hear big donation, oh yeah. But Prabhupada said, not one farthing for sense gratification. He said, Lord knows your desire to fix the kunds. Then he said, all right, give it here, give it here. Give it here. So he was fixing up the kund. When he got to Shamakund, there was some trees in the way to making it, because you see Radhakund is nice and square, rectangular, straight. Our Radharani, she's Siddhi Gopi, very straight, simple Gopi. And Krishna is a very crooked fellow. So you see his kund is crooked. So he thought, let me cut them down and then we'll make it straight. In the night, Yudhishthira Maharaj came to him and said, myself, Bhim, Arjun, Sadev, Nakula, we're all staying here doing our bhajan in the form of trees. You don't cut any tree on the bank of Radhakund or Shaman. In the morning you'll recognize. In the morning he was able to see the 5 Pandavas were there. In fact, on that particular ghat where his bhajan kutir is, that tree, this old neem tree that's all dried up now, All the old sadhus told me this was Bhim. So then he made Shamakund crooked and left the trees. So that ghat became known as Pancha Pandav Ghat. Anyway, there's so many stories of, we forgot in Puri, Mahaprabhu gave Gunjamala and Giridhari to Raghunath Das. So Raghunath Das could understand he was given residence on Govardhan Hill. And he did his bhajan in a bhajan kutir. Before that, they just did it under a tree. But he was chanting under a tree, and when tiger and tigress came to drink water from Shamakund, and he was just chanting, not paying any attention. Krishna came and was standing guard. At that day, Sanatana Goswami happened to come. So Sanatana Goswami saw this whole scene, Krishna standing guard, the tiger and tigress, Raghunath not paying attention. So Sanatana Goswami, he saw Krishna standing there. Krishna smiled and disappeared. Tiger and tigress went away. Then he came running. What kind of bhajan you're doing? You're praying the Radha Krishna that we serve, and you're taking service. You're sitting here doing your bhajan, tiger and tigress has come, you're not taking any care, and Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself has come to protect you. Later, Krishna has come to protect you. What kind of bhajan are you doing? He said, okay, I'll be more careful. So another day, he was sitting in the hot sun, chanting and chanting, not paying attention. And we know how hot the sun comes here. And he was, but he was not paying attention. And Radharani came and held her pallu, the end of her sari, over his head. And Sanatana Goswami happened to come that day also, and he looked down. He saw Radharani's choli was all wet. She was sweating and sweating, protecting Raghunath Das. And Sanatana Goswami, and then she smiled. She saw Sanatana, she smiled and disappeared. And Raghunath came running. Sanatana Goswami came running. What kind of bhajan is this? Oh, Radha Krishna, let me serve you. You're taking service from Radharani. You don't pay attention. Hot sun is there. Radharani shading you. If you can't take care of yourself properly, you make a kutir and do your bhajan inside a kutir. So this kutir, Raghunath Das there, is the original bhajan kutir of the Goswamis. Anyway, there's many more stories of Raghunath, but we want to save some time for Krishnadas Kaviraj. Krishnadas Kaviraj is also not much biographical information is there. He didn't write about himself so much. Only he was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. He lived in Bengal somewhere. And he had one day he had many sadhus come. Big festival was going on. So his dear friend, Miniketan Ramdas, who was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda, he came and began to display a great love for Lord Nityananda. And the pujari objected. And then it became a big argument. And then his brother got involved also. Because his brother, although he had faith in Lord Chaitanya, he didn't have faith in Lord Nityananda. And he insulted Meniketan Ramdas. So Meniketan became very angry. He broke his flute and went away. And Krsnadada was totally mortified. In the night, in his dream, with beautiful golden earrings and beautiful hair and lotus petal eyes, Lord Nitai appeared to him. Said, you go to Vrindavan, all your desires will be satisfied. So in the morning he thought, I'm not going to stay in this house. My brother is a fender of Lord Nityananda. I'm his great devotee. So he packed up everything. Lotar Kambo, Sadhu Kasambo. Not two Samsonite aristocrat suitcases like you guys. And he went to Vrindavan. And he used to love to read Chaitanya Bhagavat. But there's some outline where Vrindavandas was going to write more, especially about the later pastimes, but he never got to write it. And all the devotees, they begged Krsnadada, you're very poetic, you write about Lord Chaitanya's later pastimes. So he thought, I'm not qualified to do this. So he went to Madan Mohan and he prayed to Madan Mohan for permission. And Madan Mohan's garland fell down. Madan Mohan's garland fell down on his head. So he took it as Madan Mohan's permission for him to write about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And you'll see very carefully, whatever Vrindavan Das has elaborately described, he just in brief describes those pastimes and maybe puts something else extra. But he has great respect. Vrindavan Das was Vyasadeva. But there's nowhere as the later pastimes. So he came to Radhakund and consulting with Raghunath Das Goswami and other Goswamis, he collected their information and he began to describe the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, is outstanding even in mundane, scholastic view. Because Chaitanya Charitamrita is so sweet, but at the same time it contains the deep philosophy of Mahaprabhu. Usually if you get carried away in sweetness, then you can't talk philosophy so much. And if you talk philosophy, then you start using big chunky words, everyone falls asleep. But this is outstanding in Bengali literature. It's very sweet, and at the same time he's explained the deep philosophy in very simple language. Outstanding. It's unsurpassed. Chaitanya Charitamrita has become the standard for understanding about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's such an incredible book. And Krsnadada writes that I'm getting old, my eyesight is failing, my hand is shaking, still I write this Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Raghunatha Pade, following in the footsteps of Rupa Raghunath. And so today we have this Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we've all seen is so relishable. Even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta predicted that people of the world will try to learn Bengali just to understand this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just to relish, not understand, but relish Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's true, so many people have come and tried to learn Bengali to relish this Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is the primary literature for understanding Mahaprabhu. There's not much information about Krsnadada other than that incident. And then he lived at Radhakund doing his very, writing this Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in the footsteps of Rupa and Raghunath. And so today we have this wonderful literature to help us to enter into the mysteries of Lord Chaitanya's deep philosophy. Some people think he was just a sentimentalist, chanting and dancing and crying, but Mahaprabhu knew deep philosophy, such that he even convinced Prakashanand Saraswati, leader of all the Mayavadis in Kashi. Kashi is the home of the Mayavadis. He converted Prakashanand Saraswati and all his followers, the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is very deep and very intricate. And by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can start to enter into the mysteries of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. So I thought I had more to say about Krsnadada, but his main work was that he wrote this Chaitanya Charitamrita. His Samadhi Mandir is in Radha Damodar. Radha Damodar. And who is he in Krishna Lila? Who is he in Krishna Lila? It just slipped my mind. Because I was trying to remember three. One is Raga Manjari, maybe Brati Manjari. Anyway, in Krishna Lila, he's one of the Manjaris. So he also knows all the deep secrets of Mahaprabhu's philosophy. Anybody else have some questions or like to say something?
You see the extreme renunciation of Raghunath Dasa and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout in the Chaitanya Charitamrita expresses the importance of complete renunciation. So when you think about it, to be free of all material desires that strictly follow the Vaishnava principles is very difficult living in Kali Yuga in this age in particular, in this mind. So how do we see their austerity and their renunciation in comparison to how, not we're comparing, but how we can get, embrace it?
They're setting an ideal for us, an inspiration for us. That we should become, we're not after dry renunciation. Just like Raghunath Das has written a beautiful prayer about Rupa Goswami, I believe. Vairaga yuga bhakti rasam apayamam abipsamam nam kripam viryek varadukuduki sanatana. It was about sanatana. Sanatana tam prabhu ashrayami. The Vairaga Yuga Bhakti Rasam, that renunciation mixed with Bhakti Ras. Not just dry. We don't want to become so dry like a stick you can break us. Vaishnavas should be jolly. Should be happy in our service. And we just take them as ideals and inspiration. So by hearing these stories inspires us. Just like there's another story of Raghunath Das. One time Raghunath Das, he had a stomach ache. His stomach was upset. So everyone, they called a Vaidya. The Vaidya took his pulse. He says he has eaten too much milk products. And everybody said, what? Raghunath Das only takes this little charge. Yeah? Raghunath put his head down. And he said, today, in my meditation, the Sakis made sweet rice for Radha and Krishna. And after feeding Radha and Krishna, they all came to me and they were just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And that was in his meditation body, but in his actual body, the symptom came. Too much milk. So these are some amazing stories of Raghunath Das. They're all to inspire us. We can't renounce completely, but we can renounce everything. And mainly, Mahaprabhu is told the main thing is to chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
What should be our prayers to all the three Goswamis so that we can serve Srila Prabhupada? What should be our prayers to Raghunath, Goswami, Raghunath Das, Krishna, Kviraja?
Our prayer should be for service. We should pray to them for more service for Prabhupada. We don't pray for this and that, we pray for service.
Particular kind of prayer we can be, some specific prayer we can, on this auspicious day today, we can pray all the three Goswamis.
I don't know any special prayers for the three Goswamis. I only know for all six. Bande, Rupa, Sanatana, Raghujago, Sri Jiva Gopalago. Whenever I go there, that's the prayer I recite. We always want to be enjoyers, so we should pray for service. So another question, one more.
According to Gauravardhana's Tipika, Krsnada's Kviraja is Kasturi Manjari.
Oh, that's right, Kasturi Manjari. One of the other two is Rasa Manjari and Rati Manjari. I can't remember which it goes to which one goes to which. But this is all high philosophy. We should just be anxious to serve Prabhupada, push on Prabhupada's mission somehow or another. So no other questions, we can fall down to the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of that great personality who's introduced us to all these Goswamis. Srila Prabhupada ki.